now streaming live on YouTube. I will call the April 30th, 2020 meeting of the Templeton Advisory Committee to order. We stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So we have the Zoom meeting going on, and of course, streaming live on Templeton Community Television YouTube channel. So, all right. So we don't have minutes, so we'll defer that to next meeting next week. Next on the agenda is the financial effects of COVID. I don't know if anybody saw, I think Carter sent a memo today, basically saying right now through June 1, they're not really experiencing any issues. And they don't really, from now until the end of the year, they don't. Adam also sent out a memo too. There's, you know, that's something that they're continually looking at. But it doesn't appear right now there's any ill effects. Now, as longer this goes on, you know, you got to believe that there's going to be some type of impact.
I do believe there's going to be some effect, and whether, I mean, you're going to have your lost revenues from permits and lost ambulance calls, because calls have gone down in amount, but not in severity.
Right.
But I do think that some of it's going to be, once the CARES Act comes out and the communities actually see the amounts that they may get, I think you're going to be able to recoup the majority of this if it's looked into and worded correctly on a lot of the different income sections, because there's quite a few pages to go through with that, with the act. But a lot of your different departments that aren't necessarily getting their permitting fees, it is potentially possible that they will be receiving these funds back. It obviously won't go towards this year's, but will go towards next year's free cash, I believe.
Right. Okay. And hopefully the administrators will keep us apprised of that. Anybody else have comments on the effects? Or
if I might, Tony,
of course.
My concern is not so much with this year as is mentioned, but as with next year. You know, I've been doing a lot of reading, and it seems as though we're at about 25% unemployment in about a month. From everything I've read, even in the Great Depression, it was 30% after like 3 years or something like that. So we're in uncharted territory in that regard. I also think, just as a quick, simple look, if people are taking home unemployment, they're taking home half of their paychecks and they're paying taxes on half of their income. Right. If it's a quarter of the population, that's going to have effect on state revenues. You know, we have all kinds of things. I just found out today that you can't register a new vehicle. So unless it's your primary vehicle. So there'll be no boats, motorcycles, and the like being registered because they're not essential. Yeah. So there's another cost hit. I mean, there just seems to be a bunch of hidden costs, and we have a food industry that's suffering, and you know, part of that, the meat industry is suffering. I just think this is a lot bigger than a short bump, and I think it's you know, something that we need to look at very seriously and hopefully overprotect the finances rather than, you know, undervalue the damage that this is causing.
Right. I don't personally think we've seen the full effects of what this is going to do. In fact, I think we're still, from a financial standpoint, still in that upward before we kind of start leveling out, because you know, you close for a month, you know, you kind of have stockpiles and stuff, but it's when you have to, after months and months, have to start replenishing things, or like you said, people are out of work. You know, I watch on the news, not that people being out of work is a huge deal. But when they talk about the unemployment claims, it's like, well, you know why? It's hopefully going to be short term, and hopefully people can get back to work. But you're right. There's such a ripple effect on
Well,
everything.
one of the issues, I mean, along with what you just said is, I mean, read today, 4.8% drop in GDP in the first quarter.
Right.
Along with that, they're talking about a 40% drop in GDP for the second quarter.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where it starts to, you know, become a lot bigger. You know, if we're not importing, there's no planes flying, there's all these things that just haven't been put into the equation yet. I just, you know, little concern for the finances.
No, I think, you know, like Tom said, I mean, the CARES Act, hopefully we'll be able to recoup a lot of that. But I think that they have to act like they're not.
Yeah, and I think, what do we recoup, Tom? You might know, like, I think it's like 70%.
Yeah, it'll be 75% to at first, but they're looking to the possibility, depending on the size of the community, it could be as much as 100%, but there's no guarantee on any of that. And like you said, we still need to obviously keep track of and make sure what we're doing is, we're not planning on it because we don't have it until it's actually in the accounts. It's not ours. And I think that's the way we kind of have to keep looking forward to it.
Yeah, right now, last week, Springfield in the paper was saying that they're, I guess, either planning on or expecting about a 14% drop in UGGA. You know, Worcester, similar. I don't hear that being, you know, discussed here or built in here. I mean, it would be like $200,000, not the end of the world necessarily, but just part of, you know, our funding. You know, and it's only really like $1.4 million or something of our funding. So, you know, that's a big chunk of that. It's like 14%. Again, yeah.
I think the longer this goes on, that they should start being able to get a better handle on what the true effects are. You know, because sometimes short-term effects can kind of come and go fairly quickly, but this isn't obviously short-term. So hopefully they're looking at that and saying, okay. And once the crisis is, you know, semi over and we get back to somewhat normal lives, I think the financial impacts are still gonna stay. So, for at least for a while. All right. Anything else on the COVID? I'm sure it's something we'll have every week. In fact, maybe next week I'll invite either Carter or Adam to give us their thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that wouldn't be a bad idea, because as we're gathering all this, I mean, they're getting the side of the financial side of town hall,
right,
but they're also able to make sure that they're looking into all the, I'm sure they are, into all the available funding that may be out there. Because I think a lot of the places, they're not going to advertise that they're going to help you with the funding, but the funding's going to be there if you dig deep enough and try to reach out and get some help from a lot of these agencies. So
yep,
as we're doing our due diligence, it's going to be a lot better for the town.
yep.
I was just going to say, I didn't have a chance to watch the school committee meeting from last night, but I definitely have concerns, you know, going back to the lost revenues to the state and what state aid's going to be cut, you know, and how that will impact not only the town's budget, but the school's budget as well.
Yeah, hopefully the state will step up and keep the school budgets where they're supposed to be. I just don't think it's so unprecedented that people really don't know what to do. All right, next I had a couple people want to talk about, so Templeton Community Television is wanting to purchase a new media server. So evidently at the select board meeting, there were some issues. So I did a little digging during the week and found out that the Steve Castle found a really good deal. You know, I think they had like $60K budgeted for this, and he found one for under 35. But the problem was the vendor wanted a deposit, and evidently if it's over $10,000, you can't like put a deposit down and then pay it when it arrives. They had to just put it in the contract that when it gets here, they'll get paid. And I got an email from Steve, it was either yesterday or Tuesday, saying that the contract has been changed. So there's no deposit, and Carter is going to sign the requisition to get that purchased. So thanks everybody for your concern on that. And it looks like it's going down the right path now.
I agree, and thanks, Tony, for putting it on the agenda. That was a nice move.
Yeah, well, that was a couple people. That wasn't. I was clued in by Tom and Amy. So, Amy, does that answer everything for you?
I mean, yeah, I didn't really have too many questions. I was following up based on the email that we'd received from a citizen. So I just wanted to make sure if you needed a formal request to get it on the agenda, that we had it on there so we could talk about it.
Okay. Yep. And as soon as you emailed me, that's when I started kind of digging into, okay, what the issue was. And it's worked out. That's what I can say. Another thing I put on the agenda, and I think it's something I put about the appointment of the assistant TA to TA. Now that's coming up soon. However, since we're in a bit of a crisis, and I know Carter is not here a lot, Adam is in the office every day. Is it time to make the move? Now, this is by no means to say Carter, I think Carter, a lot of people that are watching are going to vehemently disagree with me, but I think Carter got this town on the right financial standing. He did a lot of work, pissed a lot of people off, but you know, we've got some good bond ratings, but you know, he travels a long way, and I just maybe I can send a formal not request but inquiry to the Board of Selectmen to ask them what their plan is and why the plans can't be moved up. And because we're in a crisis, we need somebody in the office that can react immediately to things with the full authority of a town administrator, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I don't think that's a bad idea, Tony. I know Adam's had 2.5 years of training at this point, roughly, or somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And I think he's more than capable of doing the job, having talked to him, you know, just briefly. And I know that there's area town managers that he could reach out to almost instantaneously with a phone call to get assistance. He seems like he's willing to put the effort in and put the work in at this point, and this might be the time to, you know, let him fly with the position and you know, lead forward with the.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's and then you know, the transition plan was always, once he became the TA, that there would be a small amount of consulting hours that he could call Carter if needed. So I think I'll send Mike Curry and the Board of Selectmen an inquiry on to their plan and why do we need to wait a certain amount of time.
I think also the consulting hours, I'm assuming those would just be on call and as needed.
I would hope so.
Next week with the budget, I think that's certainly, especially in the time where the town's got short money coming in, potentially due to the pandemic. We need to be as tight as we can on some of those purse strings. So.
Yep, I agree. Anybody else have any comments on that, or don't want me to send an inquiry, or?
Tony, if I might, I agree. I agree with your statement wholeheartedly. I think at the time that Carter was brought in, we needed somebody similar to Carter, somebody with his capabilities. I might disagree with that now. I think our position has changed, our mode has changed, and I feel it's time for a change. And I think this COVID situation has given us an opportunity to facilitate that change almost naturally by, I believe Carter's working from home most of the time now. But like you said, Adam's full time. He's in the office all the time with people. And at some point, we got to cut him loose, and he's got to be responsible for the decisions. And I feel comfortable with him doing that. And I think if that change was made, we would, or he would, have the support from the community to help him out at every step. So I concur. And do you want a motion for that, or do you just want to do it?
However you want to do it.
I'm fine either way. Just let me know.
And like I said, this is absolutely not to denigrate anything Carter's done, because before I got on the advisory committee, I was really naive to the goings on of town, and I've learned an awful lot. And I know that a lot of the hard decisions he's had to make have put this town in the right footing. And I think the town owes him a debt of gratitude for that. I really believe that. Okay. Next, I put on the warrant. We just got an updated warrant today, signed. So if everybody hasn't had a chance to go through it, there was one thing in there that when it talked about the selectmen, the $500, it talked about it as a salary. And I thought it was a stipend, and I believe there is a difference. So I'm not sure about that. And I think, Amy, you were right. They voted to do it. This is just appropriating the funds to do it. So
I'm also assuming that when they do the actual one, they're going to correct all the dates and stuff. Because
yeah, I haven't opened. I mean, I got it. I forget what time today it came in, but I haven't looked at if they've updated dates. So my understanding is I think June 17th right now is the new schedule for the town meeting. And then June 22nd is the election. If my dates are right. Of course, those are TBD. So obviously, if we get into July, then we'll start a 1/12 budget for the town. And then until we can approve a budget. So, and then I really don't know how that works. Do they subtract the money spent? And so the warrant, if you had $12 million of funding and you go through a month, is it now 11 that you're approving? I'm not sure. All right. Anybody have any other questions on the warrant?
I have a question that goes alongside the warrant here, Tony. I was just wondering, from going through, and it's, I believe it's article, where'd it go here? 2. The litigation in COVID-19, 17,500. I don't necessarily have a question directly with that. My question goes to, could we ask for a number of how much we've appropriated and paid for legal fees in the past year? Because it seemingly at every step we're appropriating for legal fees.
Mhm.
Which, I mean, I understand we're a litigious environment and so forth, but just kind of want to get a handle on where our money's going and if all these appropriations are taking money aside from that selectman's account for lawyer.
I can't remember if that was a line item on the budget versus actuals or not. I'll take a look. I don't remember if that was, if legal was a separate.
No, it's in with the selectman's expense, I think, at
Okay.
the top.
Yeah, and I guess in that case, I'd like to know, why is COVID-19 on there? There just doesn't seem to be any reference of why it's on there. There was another one that I read that kind of bothered me, so I'll have to find it and then I'll bring it up at another meeting.
Are we gonna completely be going over the warrant
Yeah,
when we do the budget, or?
right. So once we know that the town meeting is going to be the 17th, let me get a calendar up here. Let's see if that's a 17th. Probably June 5th, we'll do a pre-town meeting for that. But we can certainly, maybe not next week, but May. Let's see, next week's the 7th. So maybe May 21st, we'll put it on there to just go over everything before the pre-town meeting. And then we'll do the pre-town meeting probably, like I said, on, I'm sorry, June 4th, it looks like. I think that's we have a meeting June 4th, so. So that would be my thought, but we'll definitely put it on the agenda in case anyone has any specific things they want to go over. All right, any old business or open issues? New business? Wow. Okay, then our next meeting will be next Thursday, which I believe is May the 7th. Same time and same format. Anybody else have anything else?
Tony, just to clarify, next week, we're gonna go over the budget in the way
Right.
we were supposed to do it this week, right?
Right, that's
Got
the
it.
plan. Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to make it
Okay.
then. Yeah, that'll probably be most of what's on the next week is the budget.
Just to follow up on Bob's last thing about the attorneys, do all the departments use the same town attorney? Because I know as I was going through the budget, like you said, different ones are.
I don't know the answer to that. Well, I know the school committee has their own, but that's a little bit different. I really don't know the answer to that. I think all legal things for anywhere in town have to go through the select board, which I can check on that.
And just a question I was wondering about, just because as you see each department budgeting legal fees are many of them. I didn't know if we're all using the same attorney for all the different departments, we hopefully would be getting a better price than would be just each individually grabbing a retainer fee.
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, they do call themselves town council, so I would hope. So I have a couple questions that I'll get out, and I'll get that email out to the Board of Selectmen. All right. If nobody has anything else, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So
Hey,
moved.
So moved.
Have a second? All in favor? Oh, did we have a second?
Aye. Yeah, I'll second.
Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Everybody have a great day.